Please don't die. I can't lose another family. Clara never meant for Victor to hear those words. But he did. Moments after collapsing down his Beverly Hills staircase, the cold, distant millionaire lay completely still, secretly awake, listening as the nanny he barely noticed broke down, confessing the fear, love, and pain she'd buried for years. But what happens when a father hears the truth about the family he never knew he had? And how does one woman's heartbreak change a man who thought he didn't need anyone? Before we begin, tell me one thing. Where are you watching this video right now, and what time is it in your city? Now take a deep breath, adjust your volume. To uncover the moment everything shatters and heals, you'll have to watch the full story. The Harris mansion in Beverly Hills was silent except for the echo of raised voices drifting down the marble staircase. Victor Harris, a man whose life revolved around power, precision, and absolute control, gripped his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. His ex-wife, Julia, was yelling on the other end again, demanding more money, threatening custody arrangements, using the twins as leverage as she always did. Victor's jaw tightened. He had built corporations from nothing, negotiated with billionaires, outmaneuvered politicians. Yet a single phone call from Julia could unravel him in seconds. "Julia, this is not the time," he growled, descending the stairs. "It's never the time for you, Victor. Send the money or I'm calling my lawyer." He didn't respond. His vision tunneled. His pulse hammered. He stepped down one more stair and miscalculated. His foot slipped. Time fractured into slow motion. The phone flew from his hand. His body pitched forward. The edge of the marble step slammed into his ribs. The floor rose toward him like a wave. Then, crack. His shoulder hit first, then his head. Lights burst behind his eyelids. A cold numbness washed through him. When he tried to inhale, a sharp pain stabbed through his side. He lay sprawled on the Italian marble, blinking rapidly, waiting for the world to steady. He could move his legs. He could feel his hands. He wasn't paralyzed. Probably bruised ribs, maybe a concussion, but alive. Footsteps thundered from the second floor. Not Julia. Not family. Not anyone he actually knew well. It was Clara, the live-in nanny, the woman he only ever addressed with short commands. The woman he never really saw. A strange idea crossed his mind. What if he didn't move? What if, for once, he stopped controlling everything and simply watched what happened? He closed his eyes, let his body go limp, slowed his breathing. Victor Harris, multimillionaire CEO, feared negotiator, king of control, decided to fake unconsciousness. Not out of malice, not out of manipulation, but out of something darker, something he didn't understand yet. A desire to see who cared when he was at his weakest. The footsteps reached the landing. "Mr. Harris?" Clara's voice cracked before she even finished his name. He heard her sharp gasp, the soft patter of two babies shifting in her arms, the rising tremble in her breathing. The twins, Emma and Ethan, only 10 months old, burst into wails. "Oh God! No, no, no!" Clara whispered, panic flooding every syllable. "Mr. Harris, can you hear me? Please, please say something." She knelt beside him. He felt her presence before he felt her hand. Cold fingers brushing his cheek, trembling violently. "Please wake up," she begged. Victor kept his body still. He had expected protocol. He had expected annoyance. Maybe even a stiff, emotionless reaction. But instead, he heard fear. Real fear. Not professional concern, human fear. Clara shifted the babies in her arms, struggling to keep them from slipping as they writhed in distress. The weight of them made her arms tremble harder. "It's okay. It's okay, Mommy's here," she whispered instinctively, then corrected herself with a choke. "Clara's here. Babies, Clara's here." Her voice cracked. The babies cried louder. Victor listened, stunned. She wasn't calming them. She was falling apart. And she blamed herself for his fall, for not being downstairs sooner, for not anticipating something she could never have predicted. He had never heard his nanny cry before. He had never heard anyone cry for him. "Mr. Harris, your pulse? Please let it be here." Clara's voice shook harder as she pressed her fingers to his neck. "Thank God. It's strong. Okay. But she wasn't okay. He could hear her breaking. "Emma, Ethan, please, Mommy. Clara needs to think. Please, babies?" Her voice dissolved into frantic murmurs. The babies were sobbing now, overwhelmed by fear, and by their nanny's unraveling heartbeat against their tiny bodies. Victor tried to swallow. He felt shame invade deeper than any physical pain. He had done this. He caused this panic. This woman, the one he barely acknowledged, was giving everything she had to keep his children calm and him alive. And he was lying there pretending. Clara looked around wildly. She spotted his phone on the floor several feet away, but she couldn't reach it without setting the babies down. "I can't leave you," she whispered to the twins. "I can't leave him. Oh God, what do I do?" Her tears fell onto Victor's face, warm droplets hitting his cheek and temple. She wasn't acting. She wasn't exaggerating. She was absolutely terrified. "Please don't die," she whispered, voice breaking completely. "Please don't leave these babies without a father. Please don't leave me with another loss." Victor's heart clenched. What loss? What pain was she talking about? What had she been through that he never cared to ask? Then she whispered something that struck deeper than the fall. "I can't lose another family." Victor's chest tightened. He had never once asked about her past. Never cared. Never noticed she had no visitors, no calls, no one checking on her. He thought she was simply quiet. But she was alone. And now she was crying over him, the man who treated her like a shadow in his own home. Clara took a shuddering breath, trying to steady her trembling hands. The twins were still crying, their tiny fists tangled in her uniform as if they were afraid she might disappear too. She couldn't soothe them. Her own panic was spilling into theirs like a storm that wouldn't stop. "It's okay. It's okay. Clara's here." Her voice wavered uncontrollably. "I'm right here, babies." Victor felt her movement beside him. She was trying to keep them close while hovering protectively over his supposedly unconscious body. She wasn't thinking as an employee. She was thinking as someone who loved those children, deeply, desperately, and someone who feared losing yet another anchor in her life. "Mr. Harris, please," she whispered. "Just a sign, a twitch, anything." He didn't move, and then something inside her snapped. She lowered herself to her knees fully, still holding Emma and Ethan as they cried against her chest. Her breathing hitched, turned sharp, then spiraled into sobs. She wasn't hiding it anymore. "I don't know what to do," she cried into the air, voice cracking violently. "I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to make this stop." The twins wailed louder, overwhelmed by her panic. Victor, lying motionless, felt an ache gather in his chest that had nothing to do with his fall. He had never seen Clara as anything but the quiet nanny, efficient, polite, always in the background. He had never imagined she carried this fragile, trembling world inside her. "Clara, breathe," he wanted to say but didn't. Not yet. Not after everything she had confessed already. Thinking he couldn't hear her, she fought to steady her breath, rocking the babies clumsily. Tears dripped from her chin onto their hair. Babies, please. I need you to help me," she whispered desperately. "Clara needs you to be strong. Just for a minute." But they were only 10 months old. They didn't understand strength, only the warmth or the fear in the arms that held them. Clara finally made a decision through the haze of panic. I need the phone. I need to call 911. She looked at Victor again, lying there limp, pale, unresponsive. "I'm sorry, babies," she choked out. Slowly, carefully, She lowered Emma and Ethan to the floor next to Victor's still body. Emma immediately crawled toward her father, her tiny hands grabbing at his shirt, her face scrunched with a new wave of terrified crying. Ethan sat frozen, red-faced, trembling, his bottom lip quivering as he stared at Victor's unmoving face. The sight shattered Clara. "No, no, no!" she cried, scooping up the phone with shaking fingers. "I'm right here. I'm right here. Please don't be scared." But her hands were trembling so violently she kept missing the numbers. Come on, she sobbed, wiping her tears with the back of her wrist. "I can't mess this up. I can't." Emma let out a sharp cry and pressed herself into Victor's arm, her face buried against him. Ethan reached out weakly, his small hand brushing Victor's cheek as if searching for warmth. The babies weren't looking for their father's protection. They were searching for Clara. But they were also searching for stability, something solid in the chaos. Clara dropped the phone with a clatter and rushed forward, gathering both babies back into her arms. She hugged them fiercely, pressing her face into their hair. "It's okay. It's okay," she cried, rocking them with desperate tenderness. "Clara's here. Clara's here. I'm not going anywhere. I won't let anything bad happen to you." Her tears soaked through their pajamas. Their cries softened, not gone, but less wild, comforted by the only heartbeat they trusted. She began humming softly, a lullaby, not one Victor recognized. It was old, simple, something from her childhood. Her voice cracked on every other note, but she kept going. "Sleep, little baby. Don't you cry. Clara's here to hold you tight." Her arms tightened around them. "Nothing bad will harm you now. Not while Clara's still alive." Victor felt something inside him twist painfully. This woman was breaking herself in half to protect his children, to protect him, and he had spent months treating her like she was invisible. He had no idea what songs calmed his children, no idea which twin liked being rocked more, no idea who had taken their first steps or who laughed at what or who cried at night. Clara knew everything, because Clara was the one who stayed, the one who listened, the one who loved, even though no one loved her back. Victor's chest tightened. She had whispered something earlier, something heavy, something he couldn't ignore even if he wanted to. "Please don't leave me with another family to lose." He swallowed hard. What had this woman survived? Clara shifted again, still rocking the babies. Her voice was softer now, no longer frantic, just unbearably sad. "You're so brave, my loves," she murmured. "Your daddy, he loves you. He does. Even if he forgets how to show it." Victor felt that sentence like a blade sliding under his ribs. She continued, "He works so much, keeps everything locked inside, but that doesn't mean his heart is empty." Her voice shook. "Sometimes people grow up without love, and they don't know how to give it, but that doesn't mean they don't feel it." Victor's breath caught. How could she know that? How could she describe him so accurately? A man who had been raised with wealth but no warmth, discipline but no affection. Clara's tears slowed as Emma finally slumped against her chest, exhausted. Ethan tucked his face into her shoulder, sucking on his fingers. She kissed both their foreheads gently. You're safe," she whispered. Only then did she pick up the phone again and dial. 911. "What's your emergency?" "Hi, I need an ambulance," Clara rasped. "My employer, he fell down the stairs. He's not responding. Please hurry." Victor listened to every broken word. Her desperation wasn't because of duty. It was because she cared, more than anyone ever had. Clara gave the address, answered questions through trembling breaths, all while holding the babies close. "I won't leave you," she whispered to them after hanging up. "I won't leave any of you. I promise." Victor felt tears prick behind his closed eyes. He didn't deserve her promise. He didn't deserve her at all. But he wasn't ready, not yet, to open his eyes and face what he had done. Clara sat down slowly, her back against the wall, holding Emma and Ethan securely in her lap. Their soft breaths warmed her neck as they drifted towards sleep, exhaustion overtaking fear. Her uniform was wrinkled, her cheeks streaked with tears, her hair falling loose from what had once been a neat bun. Victor had never seen her like this. He had never bothered to look. "Okay, okay," Clara whispered shakily, brushing Ethan's hair back. "You're safe. Daddy's going to be okay. He has to be." Victor's chest tightened again. He didn't deserve her faith. Not after everything she'd said. Everything she believed was her fault. Clara adjusted Emma's position gently, careful not to wake her. She rocked slightly, humming again. Not for the babies this time, for herself. A lifeline in a storm. Then she began to speak softly. Not to him exactly. Not to anyone. Just out loud. Because silence hurt too much. "I heard the argument," she whispered. "I should have stayed closer. I should have listened better. I should have come downstairs sooner." Victor clenched his jaw. She was carrying a burden that belonged to him, not her. "I always try to give him space," she continued softly. "I never want to be in the way. He likes things quiet. He likes me invisible. I just wanted to respect that. Invisible." The word echoed like a punch. Clara stared at the wall, eyes distant, voice dropping to a fragile whisper. "But sometimes being invisible hurts." Victor felt something inside him fracture. He had never once thanked her, never said good morning, never asked if she was okay. She wasn't treated like a person. She was treated like furniture, useful, silent, forgotten. Clara kissed the top of Emma's sleepy head. "I know my place," she murmured. "I know I'm just the nanny. I know I'm not family." She paused. Her next words came out barely audible. "But they feel like family to me." Victor swallowed. She wasn't manipulating. She wasn't trying to impress him. The raw truth was pouring out of her because she believed he couldn't hear her. She looked down at the babies, both now almost fully asleep, and her voice softened with a tenderness Victor had never shown anyone. "These two saved me," she whispered, "more than they'll ever know." Her breathing stuttered again as tears welled in her eyes. "When I lost my parents," she paused, swallowing hard, "I didn't think I'd survive it." Victor stiffened. He didn't know that. He didn't know anything about her. Not her past. Not her pain. Not her heart. "I was 22, she said softly. "One car accident. And suddenly, I had no one. No home. No support. No family left." Her fingers tightened protectively around the twins. "I thought that kind of loneliness would crush me forever." A tear rolled down her cheek and fell on Ethan's tiny hand. "But then I moved to LA. Then I got this job. Then I met Emma and Ethan." She let out a soft sob. Not of fear this time, but of love breaking through grief. "I know they're not mine. I know that. But when I hold them, when I hear them laugh, when they reach for me," her breath caught, "I feel alive again. I feel like I belong somewhere." Victor felt an ache spread across his chest, heavier than any injury from the fall, because he knew exactly what she meant. Loneliness didn't always look like isolation. Sometimes it looked like a mansion with 20 rooms and not one meaningful connection inside. Clara took another breath, her voice softening. "I would do anything for them," she whispered. "Anything." Her throat tightened. "And I would have done anything to keep their father safe too." Victor felt guilt burn hot behind his eyes. He had done this. He had forced her into reliving the fear of losing yet another person she depended on. And for what? Curiosity? Control? Selfishness? He hated himself in that moment. Clara wiped her cheeks again and continued talking, voice trembling but steadying. "You know it's sad?" she whispered, her gaze fixed on Victor's motionless body. "He has everything I used to pray for. Family. Children who adore him. A home. Money. Opportunities. She shook her head gently. And he doesn't even see it. Victor's breath caught painfully. Clara looked at Emma's peaceful sleeping face, brushing a thumb over her cheek. They grow every day, she murmured. They learn something new every day. They laugh, they cry, they discover the world. She paused. And he misses everything. Victor felt nausea rise inside him. She was right. He had missed Ethan's first attempt at crawling. He had missed Emma's first tooth. He had missed the nights they were sick. He had missed the mornings they reached out for him with tiny hopeful hands. Clara continued, her voice breaking again. I take pictures, she whispered. I record memories. I save little videos on my phone because someone needs to remember. Someone needs to be present for them. Her voice dropped into a broken whisper. One day, they'll look for him, and he won't know how to meet them. Victor's throat tightened until he could barely breathe. She wasn't accusing him. She wasn't judging him. She was grieving for him, for the father he wasn't, for the family he didn't know how to see. Clara let her head fall back against the wall, eyes closing. My dad worked a lot too, she whispered. But every night, no matter how tired he was, he came into my room, kissed my forehead and said, I love you, honey, every single night. A tear slid down her cheek. When he died, that's what saved me. The memories, the love. She looked at Victor again, her eyes heartbreakingly sad. What will Emma and Ethan remember? She asked softly. A closed office door? Victor wanted to scream at himself, wanted to sit up and apologize, wanted to take back years of coldness. Clara shifted again, hugging the twins closer. I'd give anything for one more day with my parents, she whispered. One more hug. One more, I love you. She let out a shaky breath. And he has that chance every single day. And he wastes it. Victor felt a tear escape the corner of his eye, the first honest tear he had shed in decades. Clara didn't notice. She was lost in her thoughts. Not angry, just broken-hearted, for him, for the twins, for the family they could be but weren't. A distant sound broke the silence, the wail of a siren approaching. Clara's head jerked up, relief flooding her face. They're coming? Thank God. They're coming. She stood slowly, legs trembling, still holding the babies. You're going to be okay, Mr. Harris? She whispered. You're going to get a second chance. I hope you don't waste this one too. Victor felt his heart twist. He didn't deserve a second chance. But he wanted one more than he had ever wanted anything. Red and blue lights flashed through the tall windows of the Harris mansion, scattering across the marble floors like fractured stars. Clara exhaled a shaky breath, tightening her hold on the sleeping twins as footsteps and urgent voices approached the front door. Victor remained still, listening to everything, and hating himself more with every passing second. The paramedics rushed in, their equipment bags slapping against their legs. Where is he? One asked. Clara pointed with her chin. Her arms were full. He fell down the stairs, she stuttered, voice still trembling. He hasn't moved since I found him. A paramedic knelt beside Victor, checking his pulse, then gently lifting his eyelids. Pulse is steady, he murmured. Breathing even. Let's get him to the hospital for scans. Could be internal injuries. Clara stepped forward instantly. I'm going with him. The paramedic looked at the babies. Ma'am, are you family? Clara froze. She wasn't. She wasn't anything. Just the nanny. The invisible girl. No, she said softly. I'm their caretaker. Is there anyone else who can watch the kids? Her voice cracked. His ex-wife lives across the city. He doesn't have any family nearby. The paramedics exchanged a look. Then you should probably stay with the babies. We'll take him. No, Clara blurted before they finished. No, please. I can't let him go alone. The babies can come with us. I'll take care of them in the ambulance. I can't leave him. Victor felt the world tilt. She didn't want him to be alone. Not because of duty. Not because of responsibility. Because she cared. More than anyone in his entire life ever had. After a moment, the lead paramedic nodded. Okay, we'll make it work. They lifted Victor onto the stretcher. The straps tightened across his chest. Every brush against his ribs hurt, but not nearly as much as the weight of what Clara had just revealed. Her willingness to split herself in half to be present for him and the twins. As they rolled him toward the door, he heard her footsteps close behind. She was clutching Emma and Ethan, whispering promises into their hair. We're going with Daddy. We're staying with him. He won't be alone. Her voice trembled with devotion. Devotion he did not deserve. Inside the ambulance, Victor was placed on the gurney. Machines beeped softly. Bright white LED lights washed over everything. Clara slid into the seat next to him, still cradling both babies. Their little heads rested against her chest, eyes closed, unaware of the emotional storm swirling around them. For a brief second, Clara let her guard down. She leaned her head back, shoulders slumping, eyes closing in sheer exhaustion and heartbreak. She looked like a woman who had spent years fighting battles no one saw. Victor wanted to reach for her, tell her to breathe, tell her he heard everything, tell her he was sorry. But he couldn't. Not yet. Not until he found the courage to face the consequences of what he'd done. The ambulance doors slammed shut. The siren wailed. The vehicle lurched forward. Emma shifted in Clara's arms, and Clara instinctively rocked her. It's okay, sweetheart. Daddy's gonna be okay. We're right here. Victor felt something inside him crumble completely. Why did she care this much? Why did she fight this hard for a man who never fought for her in return? The answer was simple. Because Clara loved without conditions. Because Clara loved without expecting anything back. Because Clara was everything he wasn't. Clara looked at Victor again. Her eyes traced the bruises forming along his cheek, the small cut near his temple, the rise and fall of his chest. She didn't know he was awake. She didn't know he was listening. She didn't know he was breaking apart under the weight of her compassion. She whispered more to herself than to him. You have to get better. I don't know what we'll do if you don't. Not the children. Victor couldn't take it anymore. Not the guilt. Not the shame. Not the overwhelming realization that she had become the heart of his home, and he had treated her like a ghost. His fingers twitched. A small movement, barely noticeable but enough to startle him. Clara gasped. Her head snapped toward him. Mr. Harris? Victor? His eyes fluttered open. The ambulance lights were too bright. He blinked rapidly as his vision adjusted. The first thing he saw was Clara, the raw fear in her eyes melting into relief, her lips trembling as if she were fighting a sob, her uniform soaked with tears, her arms shaking from carrying two babies while holding an entire household together. Her voice came out as a whisper. You're awake. Victor swallowed. His throat was dry. He forced words out slowly. Yes. The paramedics leaned closer, asking questions, shining lights in his eyes, checking his vitals, but Victor barely heard them. His eyes were locked on Clara, the woman whose voice had cracked in anguish, whose past had spilled out, whose love for his children had poured into every tear that hit the marble floor. Clara released another breath, shaky and disbelieving. I thought. She stopped, eyes filling again. I thought we were losing you. Victor's voice was hoarse, painful. I know. Her eyebrows pulled together in confusion. What do you mean? A long moment passed. He couldn't hide anymore. He didn't want to. He didn't deserve to. But she deserved the truth. The real truth. He forced himself to say it. I heard you. Clara froze. Not a blink. Not a breath. Not a sound. Just stillness. Her eyes widened slowly, confusion turning into realization. realization turning into shock, and shock turning into something deeper, something that sliced him open. Hurt. You heard me? She whispered, voice cracking. Victor nodded weakly. I heard everything. Silence filled the ambulance like a weight. She stared at him. Not angry, not yelling, not even speaking, just staring. He watched the moment she understood. The moment she realized he had been conscious. The moment she realized he had let her break apart in front of him. And for the first time that night, Clara pulled away from him. Her body shrank inward, as if bracing for another blow. Victor's heart dropped. Clara, he whispered, voice trembling. I'm sorry. I never meant to. Her eyes filled again. Not with fear this time, but with pain. Deep pain. Pain because he had listened. Pain because he had let her suffer. Pain because the one person she trusted enough to fall apart beside had let her fall alone. The ambulance rattled down the freeway, but inside, everything felt frozen. Clara wasn't looking at Victor anymore. Her gaze dropped to the babies in her lap, as if they were the only safe place to rest her eyes. Victor felt the distance like a blade. Clara, he tried again, his voice raw. Please look at me. She didn't. He had heard every confession she never meant to share. Every grief she'd carried alone. Every tear she thought no one saw. And worst of all, he let her believe he was dying while she begged the universe not to take another family from her. Her shoulders trembled as she exhaled sharply. You shouldn't have heard that, she whispered. Victor swallowed. I know. Her voice was small, fragile. You let me think you were unconscious. You let me break. She blinked hard, fighting tears. Do you have any idea what that did to me? He felt the punch of her words, sharp, deserved. I was terrified, Clara continued softly. I thought I was losing you, and losing them. I thought everything was falling apart again. Her fingers brushed Emma's hair as she spoke, grounding herself. You didn't just lie still, she whispered. You made me relive the worst night of my life. Victor closed his eyes, ashamed. I'm sorry, he said, truly said. For the first time in years. Clara, I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand you. Or myself. She finally looked at him. One quick, sharp glance. It was enough to destroy him. I heard the way you talked about them, he continued. How you love them. How you protect them. How you give them a home I never gave. Clara shook her head, her voice cracking. They're your children, Victor. They should run to you when they're scared, not me. I know. His voice broke. And I want to change that. She let out a bitter, quiet breath. People don't change because they fall down stairs. Victor forced himself upright a little, wincing at the pain. I'm not changing because I fell, he said. I'm changing because you finally made me see what I've become. He watched her face soften just slightly, the smallest tremor of conflict crossing her features. I saw myself through your words, he whispered. A man who built everything but a family. A man too cold to be a father. Too distant to be trusted. Too blind to see the woman who's been holding his children's world together. Clara's throat bobbed as she swallowed. You weren't supposed to hear that, she whispered again, voice breaking. I wouldn't have said those things if I knew. But you did say them, he interrupted gently. And they were true. Every word. The ambulance turned sharply. Clara held the babies tighter. Victor continued, his voice steadier now, full of something he rarely showed. Vulnerability. I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said. I don't deserve your kindness. And I definitely don't deserve the way you care for those kids. Clara's eyes glistened again. But I'm begging you, give me a chance to try. Not to be your boss. Not to be the man I was yesterday. He drew a shaky breath. But to be the father my kids deserve. And the person you don't have to be afraid of losing. For several seconds, Clara said nothing. Emma shifted in her arms. Ethan sighed softly in his sleep. The ambulance slowed, pulling into the hospital bay. Clara finally whispered, "Why now, Victor? Why only after hearing me break?" He met her eyes honestly. "Because for the first time in my life, I felt something I couldn't control. I saw what my absence does. I heard how much you've carried. I realized how deeply I've failed the people who depend on me." His voice cracked. "And I realized I don't want to fail anymore." Tears slipped down Clara's cheeks despite her trying to stop them. Victor held out his hand. Not demanding, not commanding, but offering. Humble, trembling. "Please," he whispered, "help me be better. Teach me how to be present, how to be human again." Clara stared at his hand, then at his face, then at the twins. And for the first time since the fall, she exhaled without shaking. "Only one condition," she whispered. Victor nodded instantly. "Anything." Her eyes softened, a fragile warmth returning. "Stop calling me Ms. Clara or the nanny. My name is Clara." Another pause. "And if we're starting over, you start calling yourself Victor. Not sir. Not Mr. Harris." A trembling smile touched the corner of his mouth. "Victor," he repeated quietly. "I can do that." The ambulance doors swung open. Paramedics stepped in. The world outside rushed forward. But before Clara stood, before she handed Emma or Ethan to anyone else, she reached out and took Victor's hand. A simple touch. A new beginning. A family. Fractured, imperfect, unexpected. Finally starting to heal.